Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. More on California. I want to commend the Bureau. We've asked you a lot of questions here, and we have concerns, but on the consolidation of the Bay Delta Conservation Plan effort, as you know, all of the water users got together last fall, and they were really questioning the Bureau's commitment to this process. Frankly, without your full participation, and I've told Secretary Salazar this, and I'll reiterate it tomorrow, this isn't going to work. And our folks are wondering whether or not they ought to continue to participate, in part based upon your commitment, all the federal agencies, to make this work. So the consolidation, notwithstanding budget cuts, I think is an important statement to that effect. I want to get back to the question. You know, I represent, as you know, not only the West Side, the San Luis unit, the exchange contractors. We've got a lot of them here today who have been listening very carefully to every word you've uttered as it relates to the river settlement agreement, the Friant water users, as well as the state water project down in Kern County. We've discussed in the settlement agreement so far this morning about a number of elements, but major channel improvements are going to have to be built in the next few years, costing tens of millions of dollars. I'd like to know what the status of this project is. I mentioned earlier in my questioning the feasibility study that still has not been produced, the program environmental impact statement that has not been published. We've got a host of projects. Let me just list them here, because we know we have the local environmental funding that is a part of the match. We know we have the state funding, which is $100 billion, and I don't know where this federal funding is going to be coming from. To complete the program environmental impact statement, we've got the Mendota Pool bypass, that's $74 million. We've got REACH 2B5 improvements, that's $130 million. We've got REACH 4B6 improvements, that's $40 million. We've got Arroyo Canal fish screens, that's $25 million. We've got mud and salt slough barriers, that's $5 million. And, you know, Fish and Wildlife is off on the other side. I don't know, you guys aren't talking to each other. Unless you're going to breed these fish to crawl on sand, you're not going to make this thing work by 2013 or 14 unless these channel improvements are made, unless we're working with folks. Mr. Connors, or as I would say, Mike, this is a problem.
Yes. Well, to answer to your question, I think initially the assessments and the analysis and the EIS that's going to launch all this with respect to the channel improvements, I think, and I'm going to correct this on the record if I get it wrong, is due in the latter part of this year. And I know we are working expeditiously on that. Money is an issue to implement the channel improvement projects. No, I understand, but we've got
to be mindful of these milestones, these dates, if we're going to make this thing work. And maybe we need to reset, as we say with our negotiations with Russia, reset this so that the right hand knows what the left hand's doing, and it's being coordinated in a way that's going to work. I mean, that's, and in this era of budget cuts, it seems to me that we ought to look at innovative ways to allow the local agencies to maybe do some of your work for you. Frankly, they have an incentive to do it. Secondly, they can do it in many ways, I think, that are more cost effective, with the same funding that we already know has been allocated for this. The settlement project has two co-equal goals, river restoration and water management. My colleague, Congressman Denham, talked about the efforts on water management and returning that to the east side. It also provides that no third party will be impacted as a result of the settlement agreement. I sat in those negotiations for a period of months with Senator Feinstein. The third party impacts are a big deal. And your fiscal year budget really doesn't address, in my view, the minimizing or the avoidance of losses to Friant in terms of the recirculation plan. I think that needs to be back there front and center. Everybody ought to be getting healthy together again. And while I asked you the questions on what concrete steps Reclamation's taken to deal with third-party impacts where they've risen, I'm not satisfied with the response so far, Mr. Connors, and where the budget funds are going to be used to mitigate these impacts, I don't think it's here.
Well, we've been, with respect to recirculated water account, that's been an ongoing activity, and we think we did pretty good in this past year of making water available.
I'll give you credit. You did make some progress there. Let me close because my time's running out here, and I'll have to submit the rest of the questions. In a letter I sent you in September of last year, I noted these concerns and others in the financing of the San Joaquin River Restoration Program. I requested a 5-year plan that identifies how Reclamation intends to proceed with the implementation in a manner that's feasible with current available funding. I've also requested this report include the avoidance of impacts. Mr. Conner, to this date, we've not seen this plan. We've yet to see many of the portions of the settlement, including the interim flows, and we got to do better.